All aboard!
No, one Bay Area.
No, one Bay Area. No, one Bay Area. No, one Bay Area.
Hi, I'm Heather Goss, and I'm here to talk about One Bay Area and what it's going to do to transform the lives of 7.2 million people in the Bay Area. And all of this has been done without a vote by the public. Some of the public has showed up today to voice their concerns, and this meeting is rigged. They're not going to get their concerns heard. They're not going to get their questions answered. But we'd like to hear what they have to say, and we want to talk to some of them and see what they were experiencing in trying to sign up for this meeting.
What you've said is true. This is a rigged meeting. We are not being heard. They already have their preconceived outcomes. This is the Delphi Technique, and we're just here as window dressing. They need us to have photo shots looking like we're nice, happy people supporting this. That's why some of us are wearing this, so we do not look like nice, happy people supporting this.
My name is Jennifer Delaney, and I'm against this very much. It's going to put us in pack and stack 'em houses and tell us what to do with our land, and we won't be able to do what we want with our own land, and it's just really bad.
Are you a Tea Party person? Because that's what they're saying. They're saying that if anybody comes to shows up to oppose this, they must be part of some Tea Party. What do you think about that?
I'm a member of Eagle Forum, and I have gone to some of the Tea Parties, and I got a lot out of them. I thought they were really good.
Are you part of the Tea Party? You look like a Tea Party guy.
No.
Okay.
I just like property rights. I like my freedom. And I like the America that we were taught in civics class, not this thing that it's morphing into.
So are you a resident here in Santa Rosa?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you think about this plan?
This is the implementation of Agenda 21, and an increasing amount of people across America and the world actually are learning what this is about. And they know something's very fishy. And a lot of us know that Agenda 21 is the fish.
So when did you sign up for this meeting?
I signed up for it a couple of weeks ago. It was supposed to only be 100 people, and it got filled up in one day. Kind of interesting.
So do you think they asked for pre-registration? They asked people to identify the type of person they were before they came to the meeting. What did you identify yourself as?
An American.
I am very frustrated because when I first found out about this meeting or this town hall, I signed up for it, but I didn't get a confirmation. And then Laura sent me, I'm sorry, it's all been filled. And I'm wondering the same thing as that gentleman did. Why? So when I went in there today, I found out that they're going to separate people into two separate groups, probably to minimize any questions or whatever. But it's hard for me because I've got to be able to plan. I want to be able to know what I can leave my children someday, and this doesn't look good.
What is the plan? Do you know what the plan is?
The plan is to create stack and pack housing, get you out of your houses as near as I can tell, take away your cars, do the mass transit, and literally take away your freedoms.
Did anybody ask you to vote on this, on how you wanted your community, or is this just something they're forcing down our throats?
They are forcing it down our throats. They don't really care how you vote because they throw those away. I've been to a couple of these, and it's the same story every time. And I've gone to a couple different town hall meetings. Same people are there every single time, even to your city councils. There's something really, really strange with this whole thing.
So it sounds like this is a predetermined outcome, and these people will just show up and make sure that the vote goes the way they want it to. So are you part of the Tea Party?
Actually, I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I'm just a concerned citizen mostly, but I am a Tea Partier. But, I am very concerned because they are taking away our rights every single day.
What do you want to say about Plan Bay Area?
Well, I just want to tell you that this is the third meeting I've been to, and the first two I went to were the same as I expect this one to be, a railroading job. I mean, they just have everything planned out already. It's very clearly set up, and they just maneuver you to get the answers they want. So it looks like they're getting a consensus, but they've already got the predetermined consensus. And what they want is for us to be stuck in small little compartmentalized apartments in the city, in a small section of the city, out of the country. They're going to get everybody out of the country. That's why they're going through all this business with smelt and the Delta and up in the Yeah, Siskiyou County, they're talking about the salmon. It's all a farce. They just want to get people out of the country and I don't know how the word for it. I'm stuck for a word here. Yeah, high density. There you go. And they want us all to have to walk either or ride a bike or anything but a car, so they don't have to use gas, which is all a scam. Everything under green is just a scam. It's so clear if you pay attention. Please pay attention.
Thank you.
Oh, well, they always try to discredit the Tea Party, but I am a Democrat, always have been, and I'm hoping to keep my party pure and get the progressives out of it because they think that it's their party now. And I do support the Tea Party, but this One Bay Area thing has to go. They're trying to manage our lives, social engineer our cities, and this doesn't have any place in the United States of America. So I'm here to throw a roadblock in front of this thing as to the best of my ability because we have to. We're Americans and we have to fight for what we've worked for centuries to have. Freedom of choice, freedom of where we live, how we live, and how we get around.
You mean you don't want to live in stack and pack housing next to mass transit and get out of your car?
Absolutely not. That is a nightmare for me. I like my life quite well the way it is in my single family home, and I like to be able to go where I want to go when I want to go there. And they're spending all our money on useless trains and more big box smart growth that half of them are empty.
And so I hear there's over $200 billion at stake, and what they've got the Metropolitan Transportation Commission wants to spend that on mass transit, which is horribly subsidized right now. And how do you feel about that?
I feel terrible about that. That's our hard-earned money. That's our taxes. They're actually removing lanes out of roadways now that we've paid to have built, so that they can put in a bunch of bike lanes that hardly anyone ever uses. And the train is just they're almost bankrupt already and they haven't even repaired the tracks yet.
So are there any other Democrats here? Because obviously you're not part of the Tea Party, so apparently it's not just the Tea Party that's dissenting about this. Are there other Democrats here with you?
Yeah. The Santa Rosa Neighborhood Coalition is more than 50% Democrats in our group, and Rosa Corey is a Democrat. She is here, and she's totally against this and works hard to try to fight against this on a daily basis.
Well, I agree. This is not a left or right issue. This is right or wrong, and what they're doing is very wrong. And without having a vote, they want to transform our entire Bay Area. So thank you very much.
We're just stunned. We thought we were living in America, and we heard about this, and I've heard bits and pieces in the news over the last few months about the redevelopment fees in the state of California being taken back, and wonder what's up with that. And then I hear about the county roads that are going to hell, and I'm wondering what's up with that. And now I'm starting to put this together about this One Bay Area thing. I'm thinking they're railroading us. This is not the America. I've been here almost 60 years, and this is not the way I want to finish out my years or see my kids or my grandkids. Put us in apartments with rapid transit nearby and taking our cars away from us. And that's just not the way to live. That's not America.
Okay, so what do you think about regional planning? I mean, are you opposed to the to a transportation authority making those decisions about how and where we're going to live for the next 30 years, or do you think your local jurisdiction should make that call?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're property owners. We own a home and some other income property that we want to give to our kids and that they're going to have into perpetuity, and for them to tell us what we're going to do and where we're going to live and how far the urban boundaries can be to control urban sprawl. That's not America. That's not the land of the free and the home of the brave.
So are you an infiltrator here, or just a concerned citizen that took the time to come out and talk about, what matters to you?
No, we're residents of Sonoma County. We live here. We grew up here.
So you're not infiltrators?
No.
Absolutely
no, not at all.
All right, thank you very much. How was your experience signing up for this? Did you get in right away? I hear there was some trouble with people being able to sign up.
It took quite a while. I mean, I signed up as soon as it came out, and I didn't hear until last week that I had gotten in. So I was a little perturbed by that. I made one phone call, and then as soon as I got to my email that evening, I found that I had an invitation.
Well, I heard that people that were signing up on the very first day, if they signed up as concerned citizen or they wanted a smaller role of government, they weren't getting responses. And was that something that you had to identify yourself as?
I did as a concerned citizen. And I heard the same thing. I heard people having trouble getting confirmation that they had a seat here. So.
Well, I've never heard of a public meeting requiring people to pre-register and then also identify themselves as one type of individual or another. So thank you very much for your time.
We have plans in place that will take care of all this. Not really anything this large that impacts us all, and it does. It impacts every single one of us. That's a voting issue. That belongs in front of the voters and for them to decide, just like everything else. That's what's made this country so great, is giving us the individual ability to say yay or nay to anything. And unfortunately, it seems like we've lost our way in that regard, and that's the unfortunate thing. But they're here. We're here in all kinds of different ways. Some of us a little more vocal or less vocal than others, but ultimately we have only the best interest of everyone in heart. We don't really want to be told what to do.
They're saying that the only people who would come here and protest would be in the Tea Party, but in fact I am not a member of the Tea Party, although I think Tea Party members are great because they speak the truth, they want information, and they are positive, good citizens who are willing and able to stand up and ask the questions that we need people to ask of their government.
So what kind of questions do you have for these regional planners today? I mean, do you think you're going to be able to get those questions answered?
Well, I think that this is not really a situation where we're going to get our questions answered. Rather, this is a show of force. This is a show of letting people know, first of all, that the people have power, and also letting the people who are running this meeting, the consultants, the government agencies, letting them know that we object, that we do not support this, that we are not willing to just knuckle under and be obedient. I mean, you know, and this is very important for people to say that they do not support this plan. We are not good Germans. We will not go down without a fight. This is Agenda 21. What we're looking at here with One Bay Area is United Nations Agenda 21.
Now, you're a Democrat, right? So, I mean, we want to make very clear you are not a Tea Party person. You're Democrat against regional planning, that there are Democrats that are opposing this as well, because obviously they think that everybody who's here or who opposes their plan must be a crazy right-wing person.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am a Democrat, and, you know, I don't oppose regional planning, as it were. What I oppose is the support of Senate Bill 375, which conflates housing and transportation. And what One Bay Area is a regionalization plan that is erasing the boundaries between city, county, and state, and turning this into a region, which actually, this is one of the 11 mega regions here in Northern California, and it includes Nevada. So this is not something we support, and I am a Democrat. I do not support One Bay Area.
Thank you very much. Does anybody here support the plan? No. Okay. Wow. Does anybody here support this plan? Are you a supporter of the plan? I'm just trying to find somebody who can tell me what's good about the plan. I'm confused. Are we at the Plan Bay Area meeting? Because I thought there was a plan here and it was for public input, but nobody seems to want to talk about the plan. So, which is the problem here, because we've got a plan that's not being presented. There's not enough information. It's going to cost over $200 billion. And I can't find one person in this room who wants to talk about it. Does anybody here want to talk about the plan? Anybody know what the plan is? Okay, what's your name?
Marty.
Marty? Okay.
Hi.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I'm Marty. So,
Hi.
So what do you know about the plan? Is there a plan?
Well, there seems to be a plan in the works. It's been going on for, as what I read, since about 2010.
Yeah.
Got a lot of associations and agencies behind it, and I'm here to see where it's heading.
Okay, so you know, it's a regional plan to build high-density stack and pack housing next to mass transit. Okay, and it's going to cost. Well, they're getting a federal grant for over $200 billion, and that cookie-cutter solution is going to be implemented all over the Bay Area. And the developers of these units are all going to get CEQA waivers. Did you know that?
I did read that.
Okay. So when they tell you it's about the environment and it's better for us to live in stack and pack housing next to mass transit, and it'll be better for the environment.
It does.
I'm looking for somebody who's supporting the plan, but so far I haven't found anybody in this room, which is interesting because, you know, there should be plenty of planners here, developers, and environmental justice people and social justice people, but apparently they're all shy today. Let's keep looking. Thank you very much. Hi. Hi. Do any of you support the plan? None of you support the plan? Okay, good. I want to talk to you. Awesome. What's your name?
And I'm with Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition.
Oh, bicycles. Okay, good. All right. And so what do you like about the plan? What's so great about the plan?
Well, I appreciate that there's an effort, a community-involved effort to create a more sustainable plan for our transportation systems in the Bay Area.
What does sustainable mean? What does that mean? People use that word all the time. What does sustainable mean?
Sustainable means to me, sustainable means one that reduces our dependence on automobiles so that we're reducing traffic congestion, reducing our dependence on oil in general, and reducing our carbon emissions, and also engaging in active transportation that promotes public health and friendlier, safer communities for everybody.
So you think having a plan, a regional plan that the voters haven't voted on to transform 7.2 million people's lives, and less than 900 people in these 9 Bay Area counties decide what's going to happen to the rest of us, that's a good plan?
Well, I think the plan has been created from a lot of public input and is also, I really do, and I believe that it's a product of people who are elected to office by the voters. So those people are working on creating the plan, and also our government employees who are experts in transportation planning have been working on these things for a long time.
So you don't think the voters should vote on this?
I don't necessarily think a vote is necessary in this particular process, no.
Okay, so I have a question. A vertical sprawl, which is basically what we're going for instead of horizontal sprawl, which is what they say is bad, right? They think that this plan calls for high-density stack and pack housing next to mass transit, and they say that it's better for the environment. But did you know that all the developers are going to get GHG waivers? They don't have to do any calculations for GHG?
Well, I haven't heard that. Now, I'm curious to know, are you with a television station, or what's your role here?
No, I'm here interviewing people. I'm getting public input as an individual.
What's your name?
My name's Heather. Nice to meet you. Heather Goss.
Heather Goss?
Yeah.
G-O-S-S?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Actually, I'm just here learning about it, but I do support any, plans to, help the Bay Area and people like pedestrians like myself that walk and get, a lot. So, so I'd like to, see what's happening towards.
Do you live here?
Mm-hmm.
Santa Rosa?
Yeah.
You do?
Just
Okay,
a couple
great.
blocks away. So, yeah. So I'm
So how did you find out about this plan?
my friend Suzanne Retta. She's with the radio station. She just went to grab some food.
Okay, good. And you support the plan? You know what it's all about?
I'm learning about it, but yeah, for the most part, I do like the plans they're coming up with.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You want to talk about it? Okay. What's your name?
My name's Kevin.
Okay. Oh, hi, Kevin. How
Hi.
are you? I'm
Fine, thanks.
So, what do you think about this plan? Do you know enough about it to vote on it?
I'm going to learn more tonight, but I have studied up on it, and I'm a little concerned about some of the central planning ideas that they have and the costs that they are going to incur, and the infringement on some of our personal property rights and our land rights. So
how much is it going to cost? Does anybody know how much these plans are going to cost?
I'm going to ask tonight.
Okay, because I haven't seen any information about how much it's going to cost. Well, those are really good questions. I think those are really good questions. We all need to know how much all the different scenarios are going to cost, and what I mean.
A lot of money right now.
Yeah, but you know what? If they make a plan, if we have a regional plan, it doesn't matter if we have money or not, because they will have to.
I realize that, and that's the issue.
our neighbors, we've gotten together to try and get our road repaired. We were given the dubious award of the worst road of the year in Sonoma County. So my concern is the 66% cut in gas tax. This will really affect our road department, and we're looking at gravel roads in Sonoma County if we don't make some serious changes. So I don't support it.
Yeah, I sort of started out a couple years back being maybe cautiously optimistic that it might be kind of interesting, but the more I look at centralized planning at a regional or statewide or national level, I don't see any examples of where it's had a good result or an outcome. So I'm going to kind of ask tonight for some examples where centralized planning has been good for communities and individuals. It kind of seems to be using the government philosophies of socialism and communism, which has never had a good outcome. So I'm quite a skeptic right now.
So you must be one of those Tea Party infiltrators.
And I'm just a local citizen and businessman.
Okay, thank you, because I hear that anybody who's dissenting at this meeting must be some type of Tea Party infiltrator, and they can't possibly be just a concerned citizen. So I appreciate your time.
Questions and want some answers.
I don't know what the plan is, but I can tell you how I support transit if you want.
Oh,
you look like you're looking for somebody.
What's your name?
My name is Magdalena.
Okay. And so tell us what you think.
Well, I'm here because I'm interested in the subject of how we're going to develop our communities, because where I live right now, it's hard to live without a car, and I personally am not comfortable driving a car, and it's expensive, and I would love to have better public transportation, and that our communities are more built to support that, personally, is what I would like to see.
Well, what if it infringes on people's private property? I mean, what if a plan that's put in place tramples on somebody's private property? How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't understand if it's their private property how that would happen, so I'm not too concerned about that. This is for the public domain, and I think that that's wonderful. It's how we plan our development going forward. Right now we have zoning over everybody's property. Your house is probably in a residential zone, which means that you can't have your work close by or your store close by. It's just a zoning thing. So, when you live in an incorporated area and pay funds towards the government, we all have jurisdiction under that government. So right now our houses are zoned, so we can't even have a store next door if we wanted to. And changing zoning so it fits people's needs is better for our health. So I'll be happy.
How is it better for your health? I'm just curious.
Well, when you're in a car all the time, it's a sedentary sort of lifestyle, and it's stressful because you have to pay attention to the car. Whereas if you take walking or maybe public transportation, it's shown to be much better for your health. And if you're allowed to live like that, like I've lived in cities with good public transportation, and it's really nice. And living up here in Sonoma County, you kind of have to have a car, and it's really difficult.
Where did you live before this that you didn't have to have a car?
In San Francisco and in New York City.
And so, do you have kids? I mean, are you okay? So you have kids?
Yeah, I'm a single mom.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
I have one child.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you? I mean, don't you think it would be difficult to have a no car and?
Well, that's the point. Is in a city with good public transportation, you can get on the bus to go to the store, to the doctor, or whatever.
What about the T-ball or ballet or all the other?
Well, exactly. That's how you want to develop your city so that you can, and you don't have to take a car. When we have planning that's currently in place that says you can only build this over here, build that over here because you have different zoning, it's created around the car,
okay.
And so it makes it so you have to have a car.
Okay,
So.
Question. Okay, I have another question. Do you think that this should be done as a cookie cutter solution though for all cities to look the same, or do you think that the individual cities should be able to decide, whether they want this type, like the citizens, like yourself? Do you think that the citizens of a local city should have a say, or do you just think it should just be one size fits all, and that's?
Well, I think every city is very different,
right.
And so obviously allowing for people to determine what gets developed. But this isn't about imposing a bunch of stuff. This is about going forward, what are the development parameters? Like we have now, a certain freeway has to have an off-ramp of this, and you have to have a school. This is a regional plan, yeah.
That is a solution.
Because our transportation dollars, get distributed regionally because we send our tax dollars to a regional agency. So if people don't want to be part of that, I think that they should, keep their tax dollars local and do their own regional plan.
They don't get a choice for that now.
Well, that's why we have a democracy.
Okay, I have a question. Okay, I have a question. Do you think that a transportation authority should dictate how and where people should live?
I don't think a transportation authority actually has that jurisdiction.
Okay. Well, they do now with SB 375. That's part of this plan. That's what they're planning.
No, they don't. What they have now is, well, right now they have the same jurisdiction they will have.
They're planning.
It sounds like you have incomplete facts and that you're a conspiracy theorist.
No, actually, I've read SB 375. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe you haven't. You don't understand what democracy is.
I don't think you read the bill that you actually.
I have read them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think so. But thanks.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Some better information.
Yeah, you too. You know, the thing is that we've read SB 375. It clearly states that our transportation authority is going to be handling and determining where our housing should be for all income levels and for the next 30 years, which is going to completely transform our 9 Bay Area counties. And some people just don't seem to think that that's a problem. It's never been done. It's unprecedented, and it's wrong. So hi, John. How are you?
I'm well, thanks very much.
Okay, so I can't seem to find anybody that wants to talk about the plan here and supports it, except maybe 2 people in this room. And so that's quite interesting. Even the staff doesn't want to talk about it, which surprises me, since it's a 1 Bay Area plan. We're supposed to be talking about it.
Right. You know, it's really an interesting thing that the plan has generated as much attention as it has this time around, because MTC has been producing and updating regional transportation plans as required by state and federal law every 4 years for decades. And this is the first time that the regional transportation plan, as a result of state law, is obliged to be integrated with a regional land use plan. And consequently, there seems to be a great deal of misinformation about the plan and what Plan Bay Area does, and more importantly, I think, a great deal of misinformation about the powers that MTC and ABAG really have. And so a lot of attendees appear to be ascribing to MTC and to ABAG far more power than we actually have.
Well, I read SB 375 and AB 32 and all the CARB regulations, and I went to all of the visioning meetings in the last go-around, and I can tell you that people are very concerned. They're concerned that a transportation authority, for the first time ever, is going to plan where and how they can live for the next 30 years. And frankly, people are concerned, and it's going to infringe on their private property rights. It has to. Otherwise, you can't vision on somebody's property on what you want to build there without rezoning, shrinking the urban growth boundary, or doing something to affect it.
Again, if you, by reading SB 375, you realize that it's made explicit in the language that the regional government agencies have no such authority. And then more to the point, here in the Bay Area, neither MTC nor ABAG seeks any such authority. So the land use authority is, as it has been with local governments, either with cities or with the counties in the unincorporated areas.
Well, okay, so yes, it is a plan, and yes, technically you can't force anybody to do anything. I realize that. But you and I both know that there's over $200 billion at stake, and if the local jurisdictions don't adopt these plans, they're not going to get any of this money. So, there is a bit of, a coercion there, because once there is a regional plan, they could be sued for noncompliance. They'll be in nonconformance, and if they don't take the money and adopt the plan, or if they don't adopt the plan, they won't get the money. So it's really easy to say, we're just creating a plan and that's not going to affect anybody. But once there's a plan, that plan overlays on top of the local jurisdictions, and they have to do something about it.
Well, Heather, again, there's another very large misconception. We project somewhere in the neighborhood of $240 billion of transportation funds that are expected to come into the Bay Area over the 25-year period that we're talking about, which is 2015 through 2040. But the vast majority of those funds are already dedicated for specific purposes. There's a much smaller amount, a tiny fraction of that are regional discretionary funds. So there's even if those funds were dispersed in any kind of coercive manner, we would prefer to say that they can be used to fund incentives for certain types of transportation or.
But you can't really say that this plan isn't going to be implemented and it's just a plan and it's benign. I mean, you know, the people here deserve to know that this plan, when adopted by this regional agency, is going to become a blueprint for the entire Bay Area. And that blueprint calls for stack and pack housing next to mass transit everywhere. There's nothing in the plan that calls for single-family residential homes. It calls for reduced, and the GHG emissions on these developments, all the developers are going to get CEQA waivers. So when you say that it's environmentally better to have high-density vertical housing as opposed to what we have now, which is choice of where we're going to live, you know, that's not true. These developers are going to get waivers. So unless you plan on forcing people out of their cars, which I see as some of the policies that we're heading towards and trying to get people to buy into here, you know, how are you going to do it? And why should the government be doing this?
You know, some of the policies that are presented are in fact deliberately provocative to engender discussion. You know, we're talking about things that have been tried and have really been soundly rejected in the past. It's just as a for instance, you know, if we're talking about unpopular ideas that have been tried and rejected, try a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. You know, that. It wasn't popular in the 1970s, and when people go around to the different stations and put their poker chips in, I reckon it's going to prove to be very unpopular this evening as well.
You know, there were a lot of people that had problems signing up for this workshop, and frankly I was one of them, and I think a lot of shenanigans happen, I'm calling MTC on the mat on this. People signed up on day one, and if they identified themselves as a concerned citizen or someone who supported smaller government, they were never given a response until we raised holy hell and filed complaints with the DOT and the Federal Transportation Authority, and got on Mark Green's case for MTC. And, you know, it's really disconcerting that it's appeared that MTC is so afraid of public input that they were purposefully keeping people from these meetings.
You know, again, that's not correct. Now, I can't speak to the registration process. Just as a result of working for MTC, I didn't have to register to be here, so I got to skip that process, and I don't know the mechanics of it, but we welcome the public input from all members of the public, regardless of how they identify themselves. In fact, we use the identification categories: concerned citizen, environmental interest.
Isn't that a violation of the Brown Act? I mean, I've never heard of a public meeting where you actually have to pre-register, and then not only pre-register, but you have to identify yourself as some type of individual.
No, it's purely optional. There's no coercive element. Well, and you're certainly welcome to your opinion, but there's no requirement to identify yourself one way or another. But we do like to get just you know, kind of an idea of the tenor of the group, not only prior to the meeting, but also in meeting the requirements that we have with the
tenor in terms of what? Pro and con? I mean, what are you looking for?
No,
obviously, you're weeding people out based on whether they, I mean, it was so blatantly obvious. You're asking people whether they're a concerned citizen or whether they like smaller role of government. I mean, ding, 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 you might as well just, you know, identify anybody who is dissenting. I mean, you know, we're not all social, we shouldn't even have social justice and environmental justice advocates here. Those people had their chance. They've had the last past 8 months to sit in advisory and working group meetings with you guys. Greenbelt Alliances is not only a stakeholder, but they're a strategic partner and developed the meetings and delivered them in the last session. And they send out a desperate plea to have their people show up because, oh, God forbid, concerned citizens are going to show up and actually voice their opinion.
Well, we're glad to have the concerned citizens. And
I think the FTA should know about that.
And more, you know, to your specific point, we have made every accommodation to, or made every effort to accommodate all the folks that wanted to come to the meeting tonight, including getting additional rooms to accommodate a larger group. So we've been able to
Why did you limit it to 100? I don't understand. When you're trying to transform the lives of over 7.2 million people in the Bay Area, and you give only the minimal amount of lip service to public input, one meeting per county, and max it out at 100. I realize there's probably more people here now, and I appreciate you doing that. I do. I think that we should be having this at baseball stadiums. I think it should have been on TV. I think it should have been on radio. I think it should have been debated. I think it should have been. We should have been so sick of this as the public, and then we should have finally voted on it. Because after all, what you are seeking to do as a transportation agency is, for the first time ever, determine how 7.2 million people are going to live in the future.
Well, that's a lot to take in all at once, Heather. But again, I just want to point out that at our previous meeting in San Francisco, we were able to accommodate everyone who came. We're able to do so again this evening, and the program's underway. And I do want to listen to what Jake has to say.
So you're going to let people, you're going to answer the questions about how much the cost is and all of these things that we asked last time that we didn't get answered.
And I can tell you that our budget for the current fiscal year.
No, I'm not talking about your budget. I'm talking about the cost for the 5 different scenarios.
Well, we don't have cost estimates yet until we get it.
We talked about this the last go round in the last visioning sessions. These are critical. We're having a conversation. How can the public vote on something and they don't know how much it's going to cost? Seems to me that would be an obvious thing. Where are the jobs going to come from? I mean, where's the business community involved?
The vote was taken by the state legislature when the state legislature passed SB 375, and
that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean that what you're doing is right.
No, you know.
Does that give you a free pass?
It doesn't mean that that it's right, nor does it mean that it's wrong. It means that it's the state law and we're complying.
Okay, well, where's the cost? At least if you're going to use taxpayer money to do this. Okay.
And you're really going to have to shut your mic off because it's interfering with our microphones. Well, it's either that or you can go.
I don't have to go. It's a public meeting. You can't make me go. No, you can't. No. Really not. Really not.
You may have heard that phrase before, that we are assembled here this evening as public in a public workshop to discuss these matters. Call the police. It would seem to be the case. How are we going to grow? What kind of Bay Area is this going to be? How can we grow these communities in a way that will be pleasing unto us and pleasing unto our children and grandchildren? This morning, we took a major step forward in Sonoma and Marin counties by starting the process of building an alternative transportation system, the Smart Passenger Rail System. By people in this audience to try to browbeat us, but we will not be browbeaten. We are here to hear what the public has to say. You will have a chance to provide direct input to the agencies that are responsible under law for putting these plans together. So if the question is asked, how dare they? I say yes. We dare to do this because it's the right thing to do. It's what it's not changed my opinion. The state statutes and laws of the state of California. That was constructed without a public hearing. Whether it was constructed without a public hearing or not, it was put into place by a statute in more states. It's going to give me great pleasure to welcome you all to this public hearing, and frankly, it's going to give me to hearing free and unfettered discussion in the various work sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. And my duty also to welcome you tonight. I'm Lou Hexter. I'm with a planning firm that is working with MTC and the Association of Bay Area Governments to conduct these public outreach workshops. We're doing this in every county in the Bay Area. This is the second county that we've been to in this round. Many of you were probably at our earlier round in the spring of 2011 when we came out, introduced the Planned Bay Area planning process to you, and talked about some of the issues that were going to be addressed in this process. Along with those workshops, we had a public opinion poll, and we had some interactive web tools that were used to provide us, the agencies, with some direction for our region to accommodate future growth, make strategic transportation investments, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from cars and light trucks as required by the new state law. We also heard from a number of people that are concerned that private property rights and local land use decisions are being set aside to force growth on development on communities through this process. And we wanted tonight to make sure that we address those concerns. Planned Bay Area will respect property rights and will not change the authority of local jurisdictions to make land use decisions and investment priorities as they do now. The plan will provide a policy framework for how and where future jobs and housing growth may be accommodated, which, along with a set of transportation investment priorities and policies, will help the region meet the targets for greenhouse gas emission reductions established in Senate Bill 375. But ultimately, the success in meeting those targets rests and depends on how local communities align with that policy framework. It is the responsibility of our regional planning agencies, MTC and ABAG, to set the framework and to do so in a consultative process that includes you, the general public, and the local decision makers. So tonight, we're asking you to consider once again how this region, 9 counties, 101 cities, and 7 million people can grow while preserving the things we all value about our communities and the resources to support our quality of life. We will not all agree on how we're going to do this. And I'm really happy to recognize it. And we're not expecting consensus tonight. We do hope that we can answer as many questions from you as we can about the planning process. That's one of our objectives tonight. And we want to share with you some of the information that's being developed to help visualize what our choices and trade-offs might be like. Once again, the ultimate decision-making authority rests with the local jurisdictions, the cities and counties. It is the job of the planning agencies to set the policy framework. That's the job. Let me describe what our agenda is tonight. Hopefully you picked one up.
Agenda 21 is the agenda. Shut up!
Shut
the
fuck up!
To be a balance between what information that we wish to share with you about where we are in the planning process so that you can provide input that's meaningful, and balancing that with your questions and your comments about the direction that you'd like to see. So we have the agenda set up to do that. In a moment, we're going to initiate that and invite your comments and questions.
We have a right to dissent in the United States.
We have a video that helps to describe the Planned Bay Area process and answer a lot of questions that you probably have. And then we have a comment period after that to answer any questions of clarification that you might have. And then we have our format tonight is we have a set of information stations, input stations, that focuses on the key elements of this planning process that requires your input. We'd like to get that taken care of, and we will come back at the end of the evening for some of your thoughts, comments, questions if you have them. And again, we're trying to balance. So,
okay. Why don't you take a vote?
We are going to set a model
They don't want one Bay Area at all.
So, lastly, there are ground rules that so that we can have an orderly meeting. It's difficult for us to answer questions that are being shouted. So we will get to all the questions and the arguments. We have people here to answer those questions for you. So we'll finish my remarks. I promise we will open this up. I understand.
And not give us enough time to ask questions. So my question is, your agenda is a multiple choice. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? And do you like this? And to waste all of our time doing that when we don't like any of the choices above. Right now we have some questions, and I don't feel we're being heard or respected. And this man just jammed me 3 times with his foot, and I would like this taken care of.
I would ask everybody to please be respectful in this meeting.
Well, he's not. So can you take care of this?
Why don't you have this young man sit someplace else? He's more than welcome to sit right next to me.
I would like to have this man removed.
Elizabeth, continue. We'll make
This man physically touched me, jammed the chair 3 times. Please remove him.
He needs to be removed.
He is being disrespectful.
We can't have touchies. He's got to go.
You know, we are the public, and we have questions. And
Come over here.
Like
Security.
Them addressed.
If somebody's being physical, that is not acceptable tonight.
This is enough.
I am 28 years old, and you guys are acting like children. Thank you. Hold on 1 second. Now listen, you guys. Can we please, 1 second, have a modicum of respect for each other? Now listen, I'm here to listen to your guys' side, to this side. I want to learn. I want to know what's happening here. And right now, I can't hear anything. This is insane. I'm not.
Give her the mic. Give her the. You want the mic? Go up and identify yourself. Who do you want? Where do you live?
Agenda, we want to listen to what you have to say. But we need to do that.
I just want to act like adults. That's all.
Identify yourself. We want to where you live. We want some information that we wanted to share with you to make your comments meaningful to us.
I totally respect you.
I know. I have
Just
we want to be heard. We are the You need to be listening, lady. You need to be
okay.
What happened? We don't want one Bay Area. I got shouted down at the last meeting. This time I'm going to have my by the people for not for you guys to tell us.
Again, tries to balance the information.
I'm public radio station, ma'am. I'm non-biased. I'm just here watching. And I see a lot of people being
That
like
agenda pretty
that woman agrees.
That's the posted agenda. You have voting units at your table.
No!
So I'd like you to answer this very simple question. We have set aside some time for comments and questions.
Yeah, we need to get rid of it. Why don't you come over and sit next to me?
Strike 2. It was sitting right
why don't you come and
Well,
sit
sure
next
as
to me?
hell wasn't yours. I'm sitting here. You're my hero, man.
You sit next to me and you'll behave yourself. I guarantee you. Okay? So sit next to me and you will behave yourself. You don't touch other people's property. You understand me?
Who says that's our property?
I did.
Who are you?
I am the boss of this table. You don't like it, you can get up and leave. Sit right here and you'll behave yourself.
When did you become the boss?
I elected myself. I appointed myself just like these people are appointing themselves.
This is where we learn.
If you don't like it, then leave.
Yes, sir, we did.
You waited for the questions till the end last time, and you closed the doors on us.
How we want the position to grow, what we want our landscape to look like in terms of development as well as transportation investment, what sorts of strategies can we pull together to protect the environment, grow the economy.
The public's role here
that really for this project, and this program, and this strategy to ultimately work, we need everybody's buy-in. It isn't just where the government's going to magically wave a wand, as we saw. We need people from the ground up knowing what's going on and being willing to participate directly in making this a truly sustainable strategy.
Officials emphasize that Planned Bay Area will only be successful if it is supported at the local level.
How we plan these areas is ultimately up to local governments. It gets adopted into local zoning.
Including Bayshore Freeway and other important arterials, are vulnerable by the end of the century to flooding and sea level rise, as well as over 250,000 of the present Bay population. The Bay Bridge is high enough to be above sea level rise, but the eastern approach is low lying, subject to inundation as well. And so there are many threats that face the Bay, and that's why we need a regional strategy together with the regional agencies to plan and respond to this threat.
And the housing challenge is huge as well.
Well, housing has been a central challenge for the Bay Area for decades now.
Hello everyone, my name is Randy Richler. I'm the guy, the manager of this whole effort at the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. So under ordinary circumstances, we would have done a few things, but I understand there's some folks here that want to do something different, so we're going to do that. For those of you who came here to participate in some of our breakout sessions, where you can focus on things such as land use or the choices that we're going to be forced to make on how we invest our transportation dollars, streets and roads, highways, public transit, we have 2 breakout sessions for you. Both of them can be found when you go out those 2 doors right there, and you will be guided to one of 2. One about land use, the second one about choices with respect to how we should invest our transportation dollars. For those of you who wish to stay here with me, I welcome you to stay here, and I will answer any question that you have about anything that we're doing with this plan at all. And we could spend the next 2 hours doing that, or until whenever I have to get home, which my wife usually expects about 1 in the morning. So, for those of you who wish to go into the breakout sessions, I invite you to do so now. For those of you who wish to stay, I invite you to stay, and I'll be happy to answer all of your questions at any length that you have.
How was this guy?
Really?
Yeah. You called the cops, you big
Great work.
son of a... Happy birthday. Yeah, this is my birthday. This is what I get to have fun doing on my birthday. Come and protest an un-American plan. We ram down our throats.
Oh, hey Lou, how are you doing? Not going too well tonight, is it? So, you know, that's the way these meetings go. They're nothing but kabuki theater. It's all a show for the public to pretend they have public input, some type of consensus on a plan that we have yet to hear what's going on. And people are speaking out, and they're not that happy about it. But, you know, I don't blame the people that are speaking out. We've got planners here, developers, Greenbelt Alliance, all kinds of people that seek to benefit from the outcome of this meeting, and they're all trying to make us think that we have some type of input when in fact we don't. Who's telling you?
Yeah, they were.
Who's
One
telling
of the
you to shut up,
facilitators
ma'am?
at our table told us to shut up. Nika or something, and she's with the rail, the smart rail.
Okay.
And she told us to be quiet. She says, I've had enough of this, and stood up screaming her head off. And we're just asking questions. Why can't we ask questions?
I thought this was a public input process.
I thought it was
so
too.
Facilitators are telling you to shut up.
They're telling us to shut up. Yeah, and there were 3 of them at our table. And they lied first to say they had nothing to do with this. They were just concerned citizens. So we looked them up. No, they're part of the sustainability and the smart train, ones with the smart meter.
So you looked them up? How did you do that?
I did. I've got their names. These are the names.
Lisa Tamayo, she's with Kennedy Sustainable. Rebecca Valentine, Christine DeCoy,
yeah,
and Nika
Pozanovich. Yes, and she's from Smart Rail.
She's with Smart Rail, and
Yeah.
Jacob McKenzie. And who told you to shut up?
Nika
Nika Pozanovich.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all agreed.
And they all agreed. Oh,
all agreed.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Okay. And so somebody said that you told them to shut up. Is that true?
No. I didn't say shut up once.
What did you say?
I asked the crowd to have a modicum of respect for each other. I said,
so she's making it up?
Oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. I just stood up and said, this is enough. I would like to have some respect in this room.
So are you, you're part of with who?
I'm with the Santa Rosa Community Market. We've been in
Smart Rail, or what? No, you're not with anything like that.
No, it's a worker-run, not-for-profit natural food store in Santa Rosa. We've been there for over 35 years.
Okay.
Yeah, a model of sustainable businesses
And so I'm sorry, what was your outburst in there? Why were you screaming at everybody?
Oh, I wasn't screaming at anyone in particular. I was just extraordinarily frustrated with the situation and with the lack of respect, the interrupting. I actually really want to hear views, different views. I'm really open to this, but I can't do it when everyone is screaming at each other. So I was perhaps getting up and yelling wasn't the most optimum way.
Are you a Tea Partier? Because they're saying that anybody who's getting up and disrupting is a Tea Partier, and so I just was wondering if you were a Tea Partier.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good night.
We're doing right now as continue.
We heard that.
So,
She's asking, she doesn't like the
yes, we want to continue. We are going to continue. My name is Jerome Chatlet. I'm a member of the consulting team. And could you please be respectful of each other in this room? Sir, Scott, if we could all take turns speaking instead of shouting over each other. We have some information that we would like to convey before we start, because it may answer some of your questions. So with that, we have Miriam Can, who is with ABAG and the Association of Bay Area Governments. She's going to give a short presentation that touches on land use, housing, and jobs, and the quality of communities. When she is done with her presentation conveying information, we will take some comments and questions. Then there will be a second short presentation, again, to convey information, and we will take questions and comments. There are a lot of people here, and we have a certain amount of time. Not everyone has prepared as well as you for the meetings. So we want to make sure that there's a common understanding. Our basic ground rules are that the person speaking has the floor. So please take your seat, and please no shouting during the meeting. If you raise your hand during the questions, I'll call on you.
My hand has been raised.
With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Miriam. She is going to give a presentation that you will hold your questions till she's done speaking. That's the general format so that we can manage our time. This is a public meeting, and this is the format we've selected.
Who's we? Who's we? When you say we, you include me. I didn't agree to it.
It is not on the website.
Is there any? Yes or no? So Miriam is going to start the presentation, and we are going to organize these questions so that everyone here can participate, not just those who are shouting.
How many people want to know if this information is on the website?
Yes, please go ahead. Okay. We have a couple of hands, but there are definitely a majority, I believe, who would like to have her continue with the presentation. If you're dissatisfied with the format, please give us written comments and we'll accept them. With that, Miriam has the floor.
That is not on the website.
Let me get started.
Okay, Miriam's going to get started.
Is there any information on the presentation?
I do not appreciate. We will have plenty of time for questions.
No, answer the question.
Please be respectful. Give her a chance to speak.
So apparently the police have been called, and they're getting ready to, I guess, kick some people out for speaking up and asking questions. I don't know. We'll see.
Is there anything that you're going to present to us that is not on the website?
They said they want to gather public input, and they won't let us speak. The growth in the region, I'm going to start with a presentation about the existing conditions, the quality of the repairs.
They never make sense for us.
Let's listen to them.
But the woman. Okay, but then make sure they give us a chance to speak.
Just start by saying
I would do. Well, but they're ready.
Answer the questions.
MTC, is this presentation on the website?
This particular presentation is not on a website as of yet. No, it is not. We just developed, yes.
Your question's been answered. Miriam, you have the floor.
That was so simple.
We want to start by talking about the region as a collection of very diverse places. The way we want to engage in this dialogue is understanding the very specific qualities of the various places we have in the region. We have a very special region, and we have a very diverse region. Diversity is what makes this place very attractive. We have a wide range of environmental qualities. We have a wide range of political opinions. We have a wide range of cities and towns, and small rural areas, very large, dense urban areas. And what we're working towards is to really understand what are the qualities that we want to retain. What are the specific qualities of the place? What are the specific qualities of our open space that we appreciate and
Can you
are very
define
important
open
for us
space, please?
to retain for the next 30 years?
Could you hold your questions till she gets through the presentation, and then we'll answer them?
How long is the presentation?
Well, we're
Just a
trying
few
to
minutes.
pursue.
If you stop the interruptions.
There is a concern to address growth in a sustainable manner. And what that means is that we understand how we grow, how the places, again, retain our qualities in ways that can improve, enhance, retain the quality of life that we choose.
Of free people.
That retains the qualities of our natural environment. We have large amounts of open space that we want to retain and we want to preserve.
That's right.
Preserve. The growth of our population, the growth of our communities in ways that, again, is in tune with the realities, the choices, and the vision of all of us, of our communities.
Who's all of us?
In approaching this sustainable growth, we have engaged in a dialogue with local jurisdictions, with local governments, and collectively, at the local level, you all have defined the areas where you want to focus our future growth. In a summary, in an overview of those local choices, we have identified locally, summarizing the local positions, we have summarized the growth, and we realize that about 70% of the future growth over the next 30 years can be accommodated in those places that we're calling priority development areas. And again, those priority development areas
very narrow areas. Excuse me. You've identified a quarter of a mile in that's right. Now you will not move to develop properties outside of those areas.
That's right.
The truth is that priority development areas.
Officer, she's interrupting the meeting, and nobody can hear.
No, I want to hear her.
I don't. You guys are being rude. You need to stop. I'm missing tonight with my dog. Could you please let the presenter?
I want to hear her.
I'm not interrupting the meeting, and you guys are interrupting. Keep talking and get it
A lot of questions that need to be answered.
Listen to go.
Well, she's droning on and filibustering.
Not everyone.
We would like to have some
the information. So please let the presenter continue. Miriam?
If you learn how to read, you'll understand it.
So
That'll
Miriam's
help.
going to continue with her presentation. Please hold your questions. And we have our law enforcement representative here.
Will there be time for everybody to ask questions when she's finished?
There will be.
Everybody.
We need to interrupt the presentation.
There was no time with the last meeting, you guys cut us off and divided us up into little groups.
Officer, will you ensure that there's time at the end of the meeting?
Made sure we couldn't have any input.
What I'll ask is that you give them an opportunity to say what they need to say.
Yeah,
I've never been here before.
Wait a second.
All I can say is I've never been here before. Why are you interrupting me?
I'm
answering his question. Okay, you're asking me a question. Let me finish answering that question, please. Okay, and if you would not interrupt while I'm answering this gentleman's question, I would appreciate it.
There you go.
Okay, so I've never been to any of these meetings before. All I know is it's a public meeting, okay? If you disrupt it, that's illegal, okay? Please do it in a civil manner. But interrupting people while they're talking is not civil, and it's not a way to hold a meeting.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
They offered a public forum here for us to answer questions. Since we've been in this room, the both of them have dominated the floor. Not, you know,
They're the presenters.
Yeah, present. Yeah.
They have wasted the entire meeting.
So basically, what they're going to do is they're just going to filibuster and not give anybody any chance.
Again, I'm trying to answer this gentleman's question. All the regular meetings that I'm experienced with are city council meetings where there's a set way of doing things, and this is not it. But but how can you accomplish anything in this form?
Exactly.
So I recommend that you let them speak. When they're done, they've said that they will allow questions, and they can answer those questions at that time.
Officer? 3. Okay, I'm here listening to what they're doing, and I want to ask some questions because I believe they are committing crimes and embezzling money from the United States of America. Now, wait a second. Let me finish, officer. I wait. If they are getting money from the federal government under false pretenses, through manipulation and false statements, I got a problem with that, as I'm sure everybody else does.
No, we don't.
You don't have a problem with that? I'm done with that. My question is, I need to know where they're getting money. I want to know why they're doing certain things the way they are. They have certain provisions in the law. If you'd like to read it, it's right here. We're both capable of knowing and understanding what it means. And if they're not going to fulfill those obligations, I want to deal with it, which I have the power and authority to do.
My
yes, I do.
You're asking me a question, and you want an answer, I suppose, or is it just...
No, I want it.
Okay, so my recommendation is you can ask them when they're finished with their presentation.
Exactly.
If they don't have the answer that you're... Ma'am, please stop interrupting. If they don't have the answer that you like, I'm sure there's other people that you can write to and take it to them.
That's why I asked them in the beginning. I asked them in the beginning to identify themselves, what position they hold, and if they're elected official or a salaried employee.
Officer,
we
have about four minutes of information. If she can continue uninterrupted to present the information that she has in these slides, she has a few more to go through, then we can go for comments and questions, and I will proceed orderly around the room. I'll watch the clock. Everyone can get their minute. We have MTC, ABAC staff, agency staff here. They will answer whatever questions they can. If they don't have the answer with them at that time, we'll work with them to make sure you can get a follow-up answer to your question, and that's what we'll use. That is how we'll continue the rest of the meeting.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay, thank you, officer. So can we please, we are going to continue. Miriam's going to start, and she's going to go through her slides in 4 minutes.
Could you identify yourself?
Right here.
How many minutes do we each get to ask questions?
So I was indicating that based on local input, we have, or again, local jurisdictions have identified what we call the priority development areas, which represent a very small percent of the total land in the region. It's about 4% of the total land, where about 70% of the growth could be accommodated. This allows us to retain some of the open space. It allows us to retain a wide range of places that we have chosen for our region. When we talk about the priority development areas that have been identified, again, there's a very wide range that goes from downtown San Francisco Frisco to a small downtown to a small neighborhood where you have a few shops and a few services. I would like to recognize that in particular here in Sonoma County, we have received a lot of input about designating rural towns and rural corridors as additional place types because of the qualities of the county. Not all counties have those place types, but in Sonoma, you have provided input to recognize those specific places. And again, a rural town might be accommodating a few jobs, a few more services, a medical center, while a large area, a large financial district, a large downtown area might be accommodating a wide range of jobs and housing. We brought one example from the city of San Leandro. This is again something that was prepared by the city in dialogue with the community. It's one example of how they are proposing to address some of the changes in the neighborhood, for which we would appreciate your input. Within the selection of places that have been recognized in your county, do we have the proper convergence of growth in those places? And can those places support greater access to jobs and housing for low and moderate income populations? So we would like to get all your input, but we would appreciate your input on those two areas, which are areas that, again, this is not new to your county, this is not new to your cities and towns. These are issues that you've been dealing with for a while.
Okay, I have a question. So here's our format.
What?
Wait, so in the presentation, there are 2 questions that are suggested. If you would like to respond to those questions, you may, or you can ask any other question or provide a comment. So
tell us the question.
No, I'm not limiting you to you. And wait, you're not taking this microphone. The format is I'm going to start on this side of the room. I'm going to ask you, when it comes, you have 2 questions to allow for everyone, and I'll go around. So 2 questions, I'm going to watch the clock, and I'm going to limit to about a minute per question. So we have a gentleman in the front here, and so your first comment or question, and if there's someone from the agencies here who can respond, they will. Stop.
Okay, Senate Bill 375 requires you to identify the needs of all economic segments of the community, as well as localities' existing and projected housing needs for all incomes. You just stated low income. Respond to that, please. I want to know what this project is doing for the middle class, upper middle class, lower upper class, and upper class of people. If you're going to just address low income, I want to hear what you have to say about the wealthy.
We are addressing, you're correct, we're addressing all income groups. As you can see here, low and moderate are the 2 in the middle. We have, in terms of the standard groups that we have for the analysis, there's the very low, the moderate, and the upper income. And within the plan, we'll have to indicate whether we have the capacity to produce housing and whether that housing can accommodate that population. And again, the way we're doing this is not by us as regional agencies designating those locations or that breakdown. It's based on input, again, from local jurisdictions. It's based on your local elected officials who take the input from the residents in order to articulate what are the best locations and how to address your housing challenge.
That does not answer the question. The question is, I want to know what you are doing to address the living conditions and the needs of the rich people. I want it addressed. It says in the law that it's if you don't by January 31st, I can go to the California Civil Code, Section 1085, and shut this down. I would like you to present that to me, and I want to see it by January 31st.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Bryce to write that down. She's taking notes about a follow-up action regarding some specific information related to high-income housing through this process. Okay, thank
How
you.
are we all going to get the answer to that question?
That will be on, well, I believe MTC will be distributing information.
Will that be there tomorrow night?
I don't believe so.
Because you have this plan, so it
So,
should already be in
Yeah,
there.
where is it in the
Right
plan?
now. Why can't you answer the question right now? Why can't you
I
answer
don't
the
know
question
the
right
answer to
now?
that question right
Why
now.
not? You know that we live in a diverse environment.
So did you just come prepared to give us a presentation, or did you come prepared to answer questions?
We came prepared to give a presentation and get input on related to the information that has been presented. Obviously, we're not able to answer every question, and this is information for MTC for follow-up. It won't happen within 24 hours.
It's right here in the
But they've
law.
heard that it's important, and we can get that information. We don't have it right now, sir.
right here in the law.
I
I've
see
even
that it's
highlighted
here in the
in red
law,
for you.
and
And you're coming unprepared to...
it means we don't have it with us. Do I have
no,
a
no.
question or
You're
comment in this
unprepared.
row?
I have a new question.
Okay, we have a question from this gentleman, and you have a question or comment, and you have a minute.
Don't know who you are,
Okay,
who you
my
work for,
question
whether
is-
you're elected official or not.
Sir, it's his
My
turn.
question is, do you have a total acreage or square footage of the amount of land that will be taken by eminent domain throughout the 9 Bay Area counties? That's the first question. The second one is, on the MTC website, there's something, I'm not sure exactly what the wordage is, but it says something about 175% wealth redistribution. Can you explain that, please?
So the first question is about land that would be taken through the process of eminent domain as a result of 1 Bay Area.
Regional agencies do not have authority over the land use decisions. Any land use decisions, whether it's through eminent domain or zoning, will be taken by your local jurisdiction.
But you would recommend
it's
that.
it's up to your coordination with the local jurisdiction, and it will be up to the local jurisdiction to define if there's any land that needs to proceed through that process.
regional.
In terms of 175%, I assume you're referring to the regional housing need allocation. That is a related but separate process. As you know, the state mandates that each city and each region identifies what are the housing needs that need to be addressed. And it also specifies that it needs to address for the various income categories. And what the 175 formula, just to explain it in a shorthand, and as you know, a lot of the details are posted on our website. What it means that if there are areas that have great need for low-income housing, it should be providing that. If there are areas that have need for upper income housing or medium income housing, that housing need is accommodated. In other words, that each local jurisdiction assumes responsibility over the housing needs that we have locally in the region.
Could you please explain then? So wait. So I think this gentleman is next.
Yeah.
Oh, he just sat there.
I have a question about
He just sat there.
Please let him go ahead.
Did he just sit there?
Yeah, he did.
No. I have a question about the distribution that among the various counties and cities that ABAG is looking at, and the methodology that they're going to employ to allocate these numbers. Why are you cutting the regional housing needs allocations for wealthy areas like Marin County and Napa County? They're being cut by about half because they don't want growth and they don't want people of low and moderate income to live there, and ABAG is cutting those numbers. So what that means is 60% of the workforce in Marin County has to commute in. They can't afford to live in Marin County, and about 45% of the workforce in Napa County is commuting in because they can't afford to live there. Shouldn't ABAG be looking to give people the opportunity at least to live close to where they work? They get a better job.
Okay. So we had a question about the regional housing needs allowance and how it was being calculated, and about opportunities for people to live closer to where they work.
That's a really good question, and that's the kind of input that we want to hear in terms of, are we addressing the real housing need of a particular location, of a particular city, of a particular county, of a particular sub-region? I guess what you are referring to is how much growth is forecast in the recent discussions versus what we had forecast before. And there's a point here where counties that have less transit might be getting a lower housing number because more growth is directed towards places that have transit, where we have local jurisdictions that have identified areas for growth, where we have more services, and where we think that there are better chances for sustainable growth. But I know that you have been raising this point before, which is that it might not be addressing the specific needs of some areas that have some rural component, that have some agricultural component, and we need to look at that carefully. But that's the type of input and that's the type of issue that we need to recognize. Are we addressing the specific housing needs? In this case of Sonoma, we're discussing particularly Sonoma, but we'll be discussing that in Napa and Moraine as well.
Okay, thanks, Mary. We have a question on here, and then I'll go to the door, and we'll just continue.
I have a question too.
Go ahead. Well, no, you had your question already. So it's your.
She didn't have one. She didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Your question, and then we'll move across.
My question is this: I live out in open space. Why don't you give her the microphone? You're not using it.
And we'll just 1 minute per person.
I live out in open space, and I'm concerned about what you call open space. And I'm concerned about, within 1 minute, I can't go through everything in your booklet, although I've been on the website. I'm concerned about the agenda here, which is trying to get me out of my car and my truck, which I need to survive to live out in open space. And then I'm concerned about this agenda in here that talks about healthy living by putting people in a bunch of apartments and having them ride bikes. I maintain that healthy living is living out in open space. Yes. That for children, there is nothing healthier for children than to live out on a farm and learn how to drive a tractor and learn how to take care of animals. And I feel that you're going to call me, and I'm open space. So what?
You are open space.
Your
What is
your
as usual? See, that's what they call you. Business as usual.
I want my car. I don't want my car. It says in here that I need to have my car taken away because of greenhouse gases. I don't believe that. I think that's a fraud. Okay. So why are you imposing this agenda on us, and how come I don't get any say-so?
So, Miriam, can you define open space as it's been described in this process, and possibly as she's referenced it in her description?
I think there are two dimensions to your question. Open space in the sense of a place where we have a lot of green space, where we might have some agricultural activities, where we might have area that is preserved as a natural habitat, or an area that is used for recreational purposes as a park. And within open space, there are all those various categories. Now, more specifically, in terms of your question of transportation, there is a collective desire, and I understand it's not yours, and this is not a choice for everybody, but for those individuals, for that population that is choosing to have transit, that is choosing to use transit, we want to make that choice available. There's plenty of land, there are plenty of places that do not function around transit, where you need to use your car. Definitely, again, when we talk about agricultural work, or when we talk about even industrial work, transit might not be the most efficient way to move around. But what we want to ensure through this process is that all of us have access to those choices in terms of mobility, in terms of the quality of the residential place, in terms of the working place, in terms of the recreational place, that we have a wide range of choices, that it doesn't cover one single perspective. Again, this Bay Area is a compilation of very diverse places, and what we want to ensure is that that diversity is respected and supported.
Okay, so I'm going to go here for the next question. Excuse me. And I'm just going to hang on to the microphone so I can help manage the time.
Okay. Considering your statements several times about diversity, why is it that you're moving to a central planning organization if you recognize the diversity of the area.
We're not moving through a
Well, yeah, you are.
planning at all.
Excuse
And
me.
again,
Are you
there's,
okay? Can I ask a second question then? And I think it has to do with the statement that you've made several times too about that it will fall to the local communities to do to actually make the decisions. But you have policies, and how does it work? Does the policy take precedent over? In other words, you have to do X, and then you can do X. You know, you can satisfy my requirement. In other words, I'm saying you have to put in so much housing, you have to have these roads, you have to have this public transportation, then you decide how you're going to do it. In other words, are you dictating the overarching plan and then letting the communities decide the details of those plans? Because then the community isn't really deciding anything.
Right. True. So Miriam's going to describe the framework, the role of the regional agency, and the role of the local agency.
all right, so the question is, are we moving towards central planning? This is probably the farthest place in terms of moving towards central planning. What we are doing is coordinating and collecting the efforts and divisions that are built locally. Again, the plans are constructed locally. The sustainable communities strategy, the regional plan, provides a guidance, provides a framework, but it doesn't impose, it doesn't even require that the local jurisdictions revise their general plans. It's a choice that the local governments have to embrace, engage, or not with the sustainable community strategies and with the regional plan. So what we provide, again, is an analysis, is an understanding. If as a region, collectively, we want to address sustainable development, equitable development, we are gathering the input in terms of the visions, in terms of the resources, in terms of the choices that you are making at the local level, and trying to coordinate the efforts in a fashion that can be feasible for the region to move to the place that we want to be.
But nobody has to actually do anything you say. Don't just have to
We're taking.
Do you have a follow-up, or are you done answering the question? Okay, so I'm going to move. I'm going to move to the next person who has her question. I'll hold the microphone.
Oh, you know, I'm easier this way. You know, I'd kind of like to hear the answer to your question. Do we have to follow that if that is implemented? Do you make the decisions for us, or do we get to? You never answered her question. You just wrote over her. Plus, I also know that the plans show that you want to rewild everything. That's right. You know, and I don't like that. I don't want a bear walking down into my house. And I don't want to live in an apartment with a little, you know, bike path and a little footpath and not have a car. Because that is in the works. I've read those books. That's right. Okay. Orlean put out a book.
So we had a comment about the quality of life that you prefer, and a basic question. Yes. And Miriam, so did you want to restate your answer or rephrase?
Well, let me state it in a slightly different way to see if I can convey my point. The land use decisions, the zoning designations, if you designate a neighborhood for single family use, that is done at the local level. If you designate an area for a park, for a natural habitat, for industrial use, or for office use, those are the choices that you're going to be making locally. What we're doing at the regional level is trying to take input in terms of the quality of the places that you want to develop and the choices that you're making to see how we can coordinate those efforts across, again, a wide range of places. And there are many places that will continue to function based on the use of car, based on single-family homes with a lot of land around. There are other places that will be accommodating more apartments and more shops and more services at a location that is accessible either by transit, walking, or biking. Again, it is about choices that are made at the local level based on your input.
Who decides that? Excuse me, who decides that?
We're ready.
Question answered. They didn't answer. I don't understand why you're not answering her question.
No, I believe she said that the decisions happen at the local level.
No, and then she said that there would be decisions about density and whether or not single family would be in certain areas, whether or not there would be high density housing in certain areas. Is that your decision, and then the locality gets to decide within their locality how they accommodate that? That's my question.
Let's allow
yes or no
to ask two questions. I have already gone through the
Miriam's going to respond here. No, Miriam, she's given you the answer.
No, she
so I'm going to go over here
again. Get the answer. She has not answered our questions at all.
There's coordination
and
direction being provided at the regional level. And the region, there's 9 counties, and the counties are all very different.
And is that direction, is that direction something that our localities have to follow, or is it just a direction that we can say we don't want that? We don't want to have that dense a house. We'd like to have all the land lots to be
Mary,
X amount
can you
of
say
size.
your answer louder?
You can say that you do not agree with a particular sustainability.
So at the local level, when it comes to implementation, you are allowed to express your opinion, and if you disagree with the recommendations, that is discussed at the local level. I'm going to take a question or comment from over here, and we're going to move through. So your comment or question?
We actually need to move through and rotate the groups. Sure. So for those who just want to ask questions, you go to the main auditorium just before. If you want to continue this discussion, you're welcome to stay here. But there's another group that's going to rotate in.
It goes both ways.
There's another group that will rotate in here, and we invite those who want to talk about transportation choices to go to room A or to the breakout room A.
Police officer said we can see. So just to clarify, we will continue answering questions in this room. The folks who were participating in the transportation breakout session may be joining us. There is a Q&A that is also continuing in the main room. So you can stay here, you can go to the main room, or you can go to the transportation breakout room. So let's just take one moment to adjust, and in just one moment I'll continue the Q&A that we've been doing here. Again, the main room is available, and there's a transportation choices section.
I'm trying to keep the whole thing on schedule so we get everybody out of here.
Okay, so we're going to continue with the Q&A in this
Well,
session.
to stay here in this session, then maybe
Right, but what I'm saying is it really delegitimizes the process when you interrupt people. When I was going to ask a question.
And if you have specific comments, I encourage
Okay, so questions on this side of the room?
What do you do?
I work in public information for MCC.
So you're like marketing.
So what do you think about what you just went through? I'm calling it the circus room. There's a 3-ring circus here, and that's room number 2.
Well, yeah, it sure was. This is total BS. As soon as people started asking questions about who makes the decisions, about the collective that she continually talks about, to me it sounds more and more like something out of some government plan that where a group of politicians, a small group of politicians, is going to come in and tell the rest of us what we're going to do. That's not the America I grew up in.
Did they answer your questions or anybody else's questions?
Well, no, not really. And they never got around to me because the questions that people were asking, they didn't want to answer, so they brought in the thug in a suit, broke up the meeting.
So they brought in a police officer to break up the meeting?
Well, they had a police officer in there that put a chill on everything, and then at the end, some guy in a suit came in and said, "Oh, we're going to break it up. You want to ask questions?" And they'd already told us we could ask them, but they just had a few people ask them. They didn't like what they heard, so the guy in the suit came in and said, "All right, we're going to break it up." What the heck's all that about?
So the police officer was brought in to do what?
To try and, in my opinion, to intimidate everybody. That's all it was. When government-type people don't like what they're hearing, the first thing they do is they bring in the cops or somebody like them to put a chill on the whole crowd, but it didn't work. People kept asking questions, and when that didn't work, then they brought in some executive type, and he just broke the meeting up, told us all to get out or whatever.
So I was in there for a minute, and I heard the police officer say that, get the MTC gal to promise they were going to, if you guys let them finish, that they were going to answer questions. And so when she finished her presentation, did that happen?
No, it didn't. What happened is what the people that were standing around said was going to happen. It's happened before. It's happening now. They tell us that they want questions. Then as soon as the people start asking questions, they break up the meeting. So nothing went on. I mean, the one guy asked if the officer was going to make sure and guarantee us that we'd get to ask our questions. And he said, well, he couldn't do it, but he was pretty sure they would do it. Well, guess what? They didn't do it.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to say something? You're standing here. You want to say something? What's your name?
Sure, I'm Steve Bertelbaugh.
Okay. And what do you want to say? What's going on?
Well, I was really disappointed at the amount of heckling that we saw. Heckling, people interrupting, people shouting, people...
What were they shouting about? What were they talking about?
They were saying, answer the question, answer the question, answer the question. When the question...
I'm sorry, what?
Is that because the question wasn't answered and they had to keep interrupting to try and get them to listen to them and answer the question?
The question was off the point. The question had nothing to do with the process that they were trying to set up.
Wait, what was the question?
I couldn't hear the question.
You don't know if it was off point. How do you know if it was off point if you didn't hear it?
The point was that the question was a heckling interruption of what was trying to be said. In other words,
you say heckling, I think someone else might say, you know what, you asked for questions, we asked the questions, you're not answering them, so we keep asking them.
I see, you know what?
Heckling.
Yeah, you know what? I see a lot of people that are frustrated because they were told this was a public input meeting and they're not getting any of their questions answered. And so far, I haven't really seen a whole lot of questions answered.
I asked a question.
What's your question?
My question was, what is the source of the money?
Okay, that's a good question.
I got an answer.
Okay, good.
14% of it comes from the federal government. Some of it comes from bridge tolls. Some of it comes from sales taxes. Some of it comes from gas taxes, federal and state.
So are you for this plan? I mean, the whole point of this meeting today was to figure out what One Bay Area is to inform the public about that, and then give them an opportunity to give their input. So do you feel like you know what Plan Bay Area is all about? Do you feel like you got enough information to vote?
I was unable to find anything out tonight because of the interruptions and the disruptions that happened. And so I know no more about the plan tonight than I knew when I came in. I know...
So do you live in Santa Rosa?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what do you do?
I'm retired.
Retired, okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Presenter?
Okay, Tammy, so... First, are you part of the Tea Party? Are you an infiltrator? I just want to know.
An infiltrator? No.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because apparently people that are here asking questions are being accused of being part of the Tea Party, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So what happened to you? Tell me what happened to you when you were in the main auditorium and you, I think, asked a question and then something happened. I don't know what happened.
I stood up and I asked the mediator to clarify about the question answering portion. And I expressed that the multiple choice agenda that they were giving us wasn't going to leave time for questions at the end, that it could be easy for them to blow off the questions. So I was trying to clarify about getting our questions answered, not at the end, but, you know, when we were all...
So you were just asking a question. You were just asking a question, and then what happened?
My chair was... I stood up from my chair, so my chair was right next to me. And the gentleman on my other side knocked the chair into my leg 3 times, very hard. It was basically shut up and sit down. I looked at him and I asked him not to do that again, and he did it again. And Spike was sitting right next to me and can clarify that, because that's been an issue. Well, no one saw it. Well...
So I heard something happened to you. You got a chair slammed in your leg by somebody at the meeting who obviously didn't want you to speak out or even ask a question about clarifying how the rules or whatever, the question and answer period is. So did MTC ABAG remove this gentleman?
That was the point of... the point was he shouldn't have been able to touch me or allowed to touch me. But I went up immediately to the back. There was the guy in orange, which is the head of security, and this actually went up to John Goodman. Is that his name? He was in a suit. He looked official, so I went to express about removing this guy, that it was unacceptable for him to touch me in any way. And he pretty much ignored me. So the head of security came up with a guy in orange, and he pretty much said that the police were being called. And I told him I just, want the guy removed.
Did they remove him?
No, they would not remove him. And they told me the police were being called. So I was waiting for the police, and I waited about 5 or 8 minutes. And I went back over to the guy in orange, and I asked him again, when the police were going to be here. And he's like, "Do you really want to do this?"
So did when you told John Goodman that somebody had basically assaulted you with a chair, and several times, even after you asked him to stop, what did he tell you?
At that point, when we were in the main room, he didn't say anything. He just ignored me. But the police were called for a different incident. So when the police arrived, I went and got the facilitators for Finley Center, the young men that worked here. And they said, and if they weren't running the show, but they told me that if it was up to them, their policy is to kick the person out or to remove the person. That was not to happen. So when the police came, they turned me over to the police, and they went and got the guy out of, he was in one of the separate rooms. They went and apprehended him, took his driver's license, and at that point it was up to me. They would have arrested him.
Now, how do you feel John Goodman handled the situation? Because I hear he basically told you, I didn't see it, so basically it didn't happen, kind of thing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how do you feel that it was handled? Because I know that the police were here trying to remove people that were just speaking out, and here it is, you got assaulted, and they didn't remove him.
Well, basically, after I had made the decision to not have the guy arrested because it was hard, I considered doing it because it wasn't right for anybody to touch anybody. But after my decision was made, I did get to see John in the hall where he actually spoke to me. And basically, I said, it's good to, and if someone is assaulting someone, you should take the stance. Are you the person, the go-to guy? And he said that he regulates the meetings. I said, I talked to your head of security. They wouldn't remove the guy, so it's up to you. And he told me that he didn't see the assault, so he wasn't going to... Right. And I'm like, well, you removed somebody else that was walking around with the sign, but I'm telling you, I have a witness.
So they're trying to get people thrown out who are exercising their free speech, but they're not protecting people who are in the meetings. just asking questions from others assaulting them. Obviously, this guy didn't agree with what you said, which was so offensive that you wanted to know how the meeting was going to be run. So
I was just trying to clarify about the question answering situation because it seemed like they were just going to brush that off, so I was clarifying for that. But what was really disheartening is, like, you know, I had to make my decision, and I was in tears because I chose not to do that. But it was very serious. The police had his driver's license and was ready to file a complaint, arrest him, go through the whole DA, and, you know, I didn't think that was appropriate. But hopefully a lesson can be learned, as I spoke to John, and I said for future reference. About, you know, having someone removed before they get arrested or not allowing this type of behavior is unacceptable. As a public forum and wanting to ask questions, you need to have more of responsibility, and not this kind of behavior is unacceptable. It seems one-sided, though.
Thank you very much.
Unless you can maintain some sense of polite order, you will have to ask to leave.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Fudged.
Please.
What did she lie about? Tell us what she lied about. Tell us what she lied about.
Social equity analysis scorecard. And I asked what it means. And she said she didn't know. And I saw her pass it over here. She lied. And I just went and talked to the guy. He said she lied. I'm not doing anything wrong.
So if these guys need to have an interview, I'm all for it.
I was just asking her what she was saying.
I want to hear from her. She's a citizen. It's like we're being taken advantage of. We're being lied to.
They never let us speak like they promised in the other room. They had about 5 of us, and then they cleared the whole room out.
What do you get? You get crime. Where does that not occur? Where do you have high-density people packed together where you don't have a huge problem with crime? And then in terms with this population growth, what demographic are you talking about? Who are you saying is going to come in here? And who am I going to be densely packed with? And I will be politically incorrect. I do not want to be densely packed in apartments next to transit cities with a bunch of illegals. I don't want to do that. Well, first of all, there's 2 questions. Nobody's purchasing this stuff, and these things are going bankrupt left and right and all over the place. I can point to dozens of them. And number 2, why would we keep doing this then? Why continue with this? Well, of course you can't answer the questions, but...
Please, let this lady get her answer.
It says in here that they're planning on doing one down at Railroad Square, the same thing. And I'm like thinking to myself, why, when you've got over on Sebastopol Road, you have thousands of square feet of vacant buildings over there. Thousands. And now, and this right in here, you're talking about, hey, let's go do it at Railroad Square. And by the way, it is on a bus route.
But private developers do with their money, and what land use decisions local citizens make is their decision to make.
As a developer, this is about the only thing you can get approved. Otherwise, they're kicking you out the door. So we've already got this reach into our communities that are saying, we will approve if you do this live work or whatever you want to call it. We will approve it. But nobody wants it. So then it gets converted back. I mean, I can give you dozens of examples. But you can't go in there and say, hey, I want to do a nice little private little home or whatever. You can't. It's hard to get that approved now. So I see an agenda. No. Let me state this back, because if you go on the websites of these cities, they point to this. Agenda 21, One Bay Area. They point directly to this same kind of planning. So what's going on?
Okay.
No answer.
I'm going to look at you as the representative and authority for MTC this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to look at you as the authority and the representative of MTC this evening.
Exactly.
You just made a statement. You are going to compile this data and give it to the elected officials to vote on. Correct?
Well,
correct? Yes or no?
You can't ask a leading question that's yes or no. So
Okay, you're going to do all of the things that you're mandated to do, give it to the elected officials so they're responsible for the expenditures of these projects, correct? okay, in a simple words. That is very susceptible to the term plausible deniability. No one is at fault. When you give false or fictitious information to an elected official makes a decision based on misguidance or false information and puts it down our throats as the taxpayers. We are held with the burden of the expense. Just like this young lady said, if Capital Venture wants to spend money on projects and they fail, whose risk is it? Not yours or mine. If you fail, who's taking the risk?
There is nothing in our plan. There's nothing in our plan. Let's get the question answered. There's nothing in this planning process that puts funding, as you articulated, at risk at all. It's not what it's supposed to do.
Not at your level. Not at your level. Once the information goes to the elected officials, and the elected officials take your information, how the community loves this because of community manipulation. Community manipulation. No, understand something. There's a lot of people that think this is really great because it's for the greater good. That comment in itself, when somebody says it's for the greater good, euthanizing is for the greater good. I hear that all the time. It is not. Okay? When somebody has that term, for the greater good, you better be listening very carefully. That is a red flag.
Thank you. We have another question.
Randy, excuse me, I interviewed you recently, and I asked you how it was that you could determine that single-family residences are not desirable development standard, and I told you that when you were determining that the highest and best use for a property was for high-density housing, and you were identifying specific locations for it, which is what One Bay Area is doing. You are identifying priority development areas, and then you are saying that over the next 25 years, if that land is not developed with all of the housing that will accommodate the proposed population increase, then no other housing will be allowed to be developed. Now, what I told you is that you were having a tremendous impact on land value for the entire Bay Area. And I have been an appraiser for the last 30 years, and I'm telling you that you are having a tremendous impact on all of these communities because you are effectively restricting development for housing to specific locations. And you said that you had no idea that that was going on, and that you were not an appraiser and didn't know anything about it. And I am telling you that you are having an impact on housing decisions and on land use values, all over the Bay Area. And you're doing this without any information. You are restricting housing to specific areas for the next 25 years. That is going to have a tremendous impact on land value across the Bay Area for 25 years.
For the greater good.
So,
we'll be sure that that assertion is there, so we know about it.
You know, I told you about that, Randy. We had an interview. I spoke to you. I told you. Yes, you don't recall it. I don't know why. I called you and I interviewed you. I am with Caltrans, and I interviewed you, and I informed you that you were having a tremendous impact on land value, and it's clear that you are ignorant of that, and that you are restricting development by identifying priority development areas across the Bay Area, very, very restrictive, small, limited development areas for housing in just a few communities of the San Francisco Bay Area. And this is a farce. Your people are ignorant. You are developing this along the lines of Agenda 21. You're pretending you don't know what that is, and in fact, oh, you do know what it is. Well, oh, you had no idea. Well, I'll tell you what it is. You are actually doing social engineering.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
So, young lady.
Anyone else who hasn't had a chance?
have a question about this. Would you guys, she hasn't talking to you, so maybe she can explain what this equity analysis scorecard that was done by the MTC and ABAGs, and you said you didn't know what it is. We want to know what this means. And why was it lied about? Here, do you want to touch it? You can touch it, it won't hurt you.
Give it to Randy.
Okay, I know what this is. So, what this is that when the plan began, I don't know, about a year ago, the commission went through a process similar to this and sought what should be our targets for this plan. So, for example, a target could be we want to reduce congestion in the Bay Area, or a target could be we want to create a Bay Area through our transportation investments so we can grow jobs. Or a target could be, we want to make sure all citizens have access to public transit.
What about the race part?
And so the commission came up with a series of these targets so that they themselves could evaluate the outcome of the plan, because the plan includes projects and all sorts of things, to see if they meet these objectives. That's what this is. Those are examples. Yes.
And I saw a number in there. This question you mentioned a year ago. I see numbers in there from 2005. So are you using numbers from 2005, or was that created in 2005?
Oh, it's hard to say.
1960. I just said it was way back. Way back.
So the answer is that 2005 is the place that we used to measure against. So it's behavior change from then.
Behavior change?
Yeah.
You're trying to alter our behavior?
Well, everyone changes behavior. I mean, if I raise the tolls on the toll
That's choice. I can choose to alter my behavior. Are you trying to alter my behavior?
Well, look, I think what the commission tries to do is put policies to allow people to make choices. I'll give you an example.
In the direction that they want them to make the choices. That's called social engineering.
You raise the tolls on the Bay Bridge, but in fact, what you're saying is you will raise the tolls, and that is social engineering, so that you can restrict people from using their private vehicles.
So here's an example of what I'm talking about. So during the peak hour of the Bay Bridge, not any other bridge, just the Bay Bridge.
Right.
Before we made a change, the cost to be on the bridge was $4.
Okay.
And so the choice that the commission had was to say, well, we can go to $5 like we did every other bridge except the Golden Gate. Or we can leave it at $4 during the day.
Okay.
And we can raise the same amount of money if we had it $6 during the peak as if we raised it $5 all the time.
So people doing shift work, such as police officers, air traffic controllers, EMTs, their cost to go across the bridge is less expensive than mommy taking Billy to Toys R Us to get crayons. You're manipulating the choices of the people in the Bay Area. Now, if you have a specific cost that you need to repair something with, that's one thing. But when you're manipulating the choices of the public, that's social engineering.
And we have done a lot of that.
It talks about socioeconomic and commute for socioeconomic. So I want to know where I fit. I'm white, and I come from a middle class family. Where do I fit in that?
They thought it was great. So
good. Build a nuclear plant in your backyard, not in mine. Is that the mentality we're going to allow happen?
Well, the commission had the authority to make a decision.
That's now you're talking about.
You do have another question here.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to.
No, she holds the mic.
Okay, I'd like to paint a picture here for the future. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get an answer for this, but I'd like to expose the kind of psychological manipulation that goes on here on a regular basis with politics. And that is this. You dangle out an idea that people get behind, the masses get behind. We want to bring down greenhouse gases. Okay, great. Let's all get behind this, and you get this big motion going in a direction. But behind the scenes, what you do is you say to a community, okay, in order to do this, you have to get X amount of dollars, X amount of greenhouse reduction, okay? In order to do that, these same people are going to be getting funding from these sources. If you want to jump through this hoop, this is what you're going to have to do. And these people who are going to have to cut their own throats, their own people, they're going to have to say, well, we have to rezone this, we have to change this, and then if you really want this money to go towards the transit, if you want money to go towards this freeway to be rebuilt, then gosh, you're just going to have to do this and this and this. Things that people are not going to like it. Can I explain something a little bit more? Okay. So what you're doing is you set up something that you get a freight train going in a direction that in the end product, people aren't going to be aware of how it's going to affect them by the time it's too late. Okay. So my concern is, what kind of safeguards are you going to give to the common person that's going to be set aside for them to be able to say, wait a second, in a practical, real world, that doesn't really work. So in essence, we're going to have people that are from an individual's point of view, and let them have pure representation and be able to stand up to the other financial people and all the other political people and say, hey, look, this is not going to cut it because these people are going to be affected. And eminent domain is going to rush right in here and going to run roughshod over this whole community. And sorry, we're not going to go for that. I like to make sure that these people are going to have representation.
We are here to listen to you express that view, and I am here to look at you and say, good, that's what we want to hear. I mean, this gentleman thinks the bridge toll change is a bad idea. I hear you. I tried to
manipulating the choices of the public.
Okay, we have another question.
I do have a question. I'm wondering, instead of having these things that are run by you, why don't we have a debate? Why don't we have something where you can sit at a table and we can sit at a table and have people ask us questions? And that way we get to say how we feel. It's not just you running the whole show. How about that?
The answer to your question is that the objective that the commission has that I work for is to get the most robust public involvement that we can. And this...
Our tax dollars pay for your job. We have a right to be very involved, just as involved as you.
So let me answer your question. So what this meeting is one event in one county. We do public opinion polling, so we get the opinion of the entire Bay Area. We do monthly meetings where folks can talk to our commission at full length anytime they want to for, there's always a time restriction so the meeting can get done. Okay? We are trying to get out in the community in the best way that we can. But look, we're always going to fall short. I mean, your idea is a great one. I would like to do it. But we only have so much money and so many people to cover a vast array of opinions, So one of the things we like to do is to come to a public meeting like this, ask people what your views are, and then compare those views to a statistically valid public opinion poll and see how it matches up. That's what we like to do. No, that's not true.
Who is the dissenting opinion on FTC?
Can't be. No. Are the other meetings still going on? Okay. Well, look, we can just keep going.
Okay, we've got another one right here.
We're still right back to what it costs the public. This is our tax money. The steeper the tax burden and now the person is this decision maker on whether you can actually own the property. So if we load down the tax-paying public with burdens of taxes and taxes and fees and taxes and taxes. Before long, there won't be any private property out there. And is that the goal?
Is that no?
It sounds like it.
Is there anyone on this side who are interested in getting involved in this discussion, or we can travel that way.
Okay, we've got another one.
Quick question. At the MTC, could you please on your website, and if you know their names tonight, that would be great. I'd like to know the people who have the dissenting opinions when you get behind closed doors at MTC. That I would imagine you probably don't know anybody's name right now. The next question and statement that I have is, are you aware of the terms social injustice and environmental injustice?
I get the feeling you're going to tell me.
No, I'm not going to tell you. I would like you to look it up. Social injustice and environmental injustice are generally impacting the impoverished or the lower classes of society, but it protects all people in society. And by you destroying or taking away the environment of people in which they've become accustomed to, that's environmental and social injustice. And you need to look very, very closely in how you impact some of these large landowners who the property's been in their home, their families for 150 years. People have gone out and bought small plots of land. People have bought large lots, large pieces of property in the urban areas. The impression that I'm getting is if it's needed for the greater good, it will be taken. And it won't be taken specifically by your organization, but your organization are going to have a part of it by your recommendations to another organization and another organization and another organization until the group votes on it. They're not going to know. This report's going to be 100,000 pages long. Do you think any city council member is going to take the time to read it?
I can think of a very few.
Correct. So we have to be very careful on what we allow people to do with our freedoms and our liberties. And the state of California Constitution says I have the right to protect my property. And protecting my property means stopping organizations and people that want to take it. I have the right to do that, just as you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back to the equity analysis scorecard. And one of the issues I have here is it seems like you're trying to create, tell me a yes or no answer, and sort of a equality of outcome. Is that what you're trying to do here?
Well, look, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I think what the commission is trying to do is to focus what can be an arcane and general subject, which is planning, and to try to focus those things on things that we can hopefully try to measure. That's what we're trying to do. And so this targets objective that some of you have brought up gets into some of these very specific things. Like, for example, reduce vehicle miles traveled. Can we do that? Look, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard.
My question is, overall, is this plan attempting to create an equal outcome for everybody?
We don't take on subjects like that. I think what we try to take on is to look at what the law says and to try to create a plan that meets the objective of that law. And part of that law talks about how we need to include everyone. And that's what we're trying to do.
You made a statement, and I'm quoting you, you want to create a situation where everyone has access to public transit. Okay, and that's impossible, right? I mean, if you live out in the country, you don't have access to public transit. If you try to prevent and provide public transit out into the country, there would never be enough funds to do so. So basically, in order to accomplish this goal, then you must crowd everyone together along public transit lines. And that's kind of what I'm getting out of this, is that there seems to be a goal to get people out of their cars and put them along, lines of public transit and give everybody access. And then it goes on in here, and then it goes on to say that this is a really good thing because you'll spend less money on gas. Well, you know what? I'd rather spend my money on gas and have the freedom to drive my car than to be sitting in some, I don't want to be living along some busy street in an apartment or along some railroad line in an apartment.
And you don't want your children to have to make that choice be
well,
made.
I want my children out in the country. I want my children out in the country raising animals and...
Listen, I think first of all, we don't want you to take, transit if you don't want to take transit. I mean, but we just want you to pay for it. So our objective here in this plan is to provide choices for people to do the things that they want to do. That's what we want to do. Now, the challenge we have, and it's a significant one, is how do we provide all these choices to everybody, which we expect to have here, and meet a couple of objectives that are in statute. One of those objectives is to try to get at this greenhouse gas emissions issue. It's tough. Now, I didn't make up the law. Well, it may be ridiculous, but I'm just following what's in the rules. Okay? So just hear me out. So one way we can do it is to get cars with better gas mileage. Another way we can do it is to mode shift. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. Yes.
Randy, we've got another one here.
Here, I'm going to let her finish up and then we're going to go over here.
Okay.
Let's talk about these cars with better gas mileage. Okay, what we're not taking into account is the tens of thousands of deaths of people that are getting mutilated in these ridiculous little cars. You know? Well, I mean, but you're forcing that on us.
No, we're not.
Is it by choice? Simple choice, or is it
No, I mean, you know, you've got these cafe standards, and I realize that your agency is not...
We're just showing the outcome of it. We don't have the power to make people buy a different car.
Yes, you do too. It's called cafe standards.
Subsidies.
It's called cafe standards.
Manipulation through subsidies.
Contact for 8 o'clock in the other rooms are going to be joining us here in the large room right now. We have a few slides to just wrap up, just a couple of things, and then we said we would be here until 8:30 to answer any further questions.
So, hi, we're here with John, the Vice Mayor of Santa Rosa, and you came over here and you're a little late to the meeting, so it's kind of breaking up. But so, what do you know about One Bay Area, Planned Bay Area?
Well, what I know about it is that it is a planning concept, a very large regional planning concept that has a lot to do with land use and funding, those two major issues. And that's why I wanted to come this evening and find out more about those two major issues and how it impacts Santa Rosa and the entire region.
I'm really surprised that a vice mayor has no idea not no idea, but has very little knowledge about what this plan, this grand plan for 9 Bay Area counties is, when it looks like they're moving forward with it. I mean, don't you normally get your information? I mean, aren't you, are you obviously not on ABAG or MTC, but so how do you get informed?
We have representatives on ABAG, but this issue of One Bay Area specifically has not been on an agenda in front of the Santa Rosa City Council, and we changed that recently. In fact, I had asked that it be on the agenda, and we're now getting reports, and this was going to be one more piece, a way of getting more information for the council and for the city. So the information has been lacking, and this was going to be at least one of the vehicles to gain some of that.
So coming to a public input meeting, you think you're going to learn something?
Well, you know, every little bit helps, and what you hope is to get a distilled version at the city council meetings, because we can't go on for hours and hours and hours unless you have a study session. But this was just going to be a way to at least hear some public input, which evidently did not happen.
Well, I thought we heard a lot of public input here too. I think we've been overwhelmed with public input, and this is a good thing. I think we need to have a dialogue. I mean, you know, I think the main concern here is that, you know, there's this ginormous plan that's being implemented at the regional level, and our local jurisdictions like yourself aren't really privy to a lot of the information unless you're sitting on those boards. How do you feel about regional planners making a plan that you should be planning, in my opinion?
Well, I agree with you, and that's why I asked a couple of months ago that we have this on our agenda, because I did find out that there was this issue was being discussed at the regional level, and we were not getting the information that we needed, because it is serious to me. It's very concerning to me that these decisions are being made outside of Santa Rosa, and that they're telling us that they know what's good for us. And I think that we need to have a little more input.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you guys are losing control at the local level, if you ask me. With redevelopment gone, now it's been abolished at the local level. A lot of people are really concerned about, where the redevelopment funds are going to come from and who's going to control them. More importantly, I mean, a lot of people think, oh, great, redevelopment's gone, but it's not gone, right? It's tell us where it is. What's happening?
Well, it is gone as we know it. And what we've asked for now is a delay of about 2.5 months to try to, maybe the legislature will back off a little bit, give us some time to respond to their demands and how it's going to function now. It's in essence, it has in many ways been gutted. A very, very important tool has been taken away from us, and the money's been taken to Sacramento.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's been taken away from you, but it's been elevated to a state level. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think what I heard here today is a lot of people are concerned about local issues being handled locally, and I think a big concern is that a regional transportation body is now determining how and where people are going to live for the next 30 years, and they're basically visioning on your, turf. So.
Well, I think you're right. And what this has done is it is piquing people's interest. It's making them get involved so that they can understand what this plan is about, how it impacts them, and how it takes away local control, if indeed that's what it's going to do. And that's why I was here tonight, to find out exactly how does it affect local control.
Well, I think you need to read SB 375 and AB 32 and the CARB regulations and get yourself down to an ABAG meeting.
We all need to get a little more informed of what's going on at ABAG and with the One Bay Area plan.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wrap up our program, please.
Check.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, there we go. All right, so you were in the three-ring circus number 3. Ring number 3.
It was number A to start off with.
Oh, okay, down the hall. Okay, I'm calling it the three-ring circus because it was pretty crazy tonight here in terms of, people going here and there. And so what happened in that room? I never got to that room.
That was the one where they had us vote with chips, and it was about transportation. They told us all of the various options, and then we were to put chips in for what we wanted concerning the environment, green, and what we wanted concerning other parts of transportation with yellow or orange chips. Most of us put all of ours in the other section, and if you did that, then you got to fill out a card telling you what you wanted. My card for all 3 of them said, I am wondering why we think that we have the right to vote for 7 million people and make up decisions for them. And when it was completed, they actually let us talk about why we chose other, and they wrote that up on the board. The first thing is, why do we have the right to vote for 7 million other people?
So they actually did. Now, did they answer any of your questions, or did they just write them down? Because, I'm not seeing them answer a whole lot of questions necessarily. I mean, what I'm seeing is them writing the questions down and then saying, well, we'll get back to you, or whatever. Is that what happened to you?
Well, in this last section concerning communities, this lady actually did answer our questions, and they went row by row. Whoever had a question raised their hand, and we got them answered to the best of this lady's ability. And my question there was, I said, my son lives in Portland, Oregon, and we have this information about the sustainable communities in Portland and how terrible it has been, and thousands of people are now leaving Portland because their quality of life has been so changed with all this dense population and not having the ability to even drive their cars. So they've got to hear that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I would like to get a definition for social justice.
My name's Sean.
Okay, Sean, and so, I heard there's going to be infiltrators here tonight, those angry citizens, and so they're calling people infiltrators or Tea Party people. Are you a Tea Party member?
I've been to some Tea Party meetings. I've also been to Progressive Democrat meetings. I've been involved in sustainable ideas and won awards and that kind of thing.
Wow.
Green builder. So basically I wonder about the question tonight, and for all of these people, is where are our concerns for all of life, meaning the folks here in the meetings, their children, their grandchildren's, dozens of generations in the future. How do we figure a planning for that? Do we let things go as they have? The area has really changed in the last 50, 25, 10 years, when you think about it. So
how do you feel about somebody? I mean, let's say that you owned property, and and let's say that property was part of this plan, became part of this plan, and they want to make it open space, or they want to make it stack and pack housing, or whatever it is. I don't know what you own right now, but high density, low income housing, which is what they're proposing, and let's say that that means rezoning your property so you can't use it, or zoning it as open space. I mean, in essence,
the area where I live now has been rezoned due to the general plan of Sonoma County in the past. I'm now in an area where it's zoned a certain way, and every 20 years the general plan is revised and zoning can change again. In terms of the urban areas and where I think there's a lot of energy tonight involved in this is that there's a lot more people. There's a lot more people coming in. There's, what do we do? And do we just set up the board and say, this is the number of people that can live in the Santa Rosa area? Property densities are determined forever. That's not going to work. I think there's bigger questions that we need to look at in terms of how do we really look at a long-term process, a long-term cultural issue. There were issues, complaints about population in here, and a lot of snide remarks about that kind of thing. Population is people having children. We don't want to limit like China has to one and kill the girls and just keep the boys. But we also need to consider that population is growing, has for the last 150 years in California.
Okay, but do you think the government should be telling us where and how we should live? Because that's basically what this plan is. It's dictating how we're going to live and where we're going to live. I mean, that's how this plan is set up.
Well, okay, go back to government of and by and for the people.
Right.
The people need to be the government, not abdicating to the guys at 5 Board of Supervisors who work with people who are interested and pay attention and plug in. And
but the vice mayor that was here didn't even know about Plan Bay Area, the vice mayor of Santa Rosa. So yeah, very interesting. I thought that was very interesting, since these are the people that are supposed to make our local decisions. So
I've been aware of ABAG, Association of Bay Area Governments, for almost 20 years.
Yeah, they've been around for a while, but they haven't been involved in social engineering, where people are mandating where people are going to live, and this is unprecedented. This whole housing element. There's been allocations of it, but the local jurisdictions decided it. Now a regional body is going to decide that and then hand it down to a local jurisdiction. He didn't even know. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about it? Well, I feel that he isn't doing his job if he isn't aware of it. That's my first feeling about whoever that was.
Representatives that go to these boards, and they're supposed to quarterly, I guess, give them updates, and he feels like he's not getting enough information, and he's coming to one of these meetings to kind of plug himself in with a little more. So there's something going on.
I'm glad he started to plug himself in.
Yeah.
This whole Bay Area thing has been going on for 20 years. I think that because of the pressures that we're seeing in Sonoma County, the population of Sonoma County has skyrocketed in the last 25 years.
So what do you propose to do? Are you suggesting that you put a moratorium on how many people can? I'm just asking. These are difficult questions.
They are difficult questions, and my sense is that some people would say we need to not let people in somehow, and that I don't see how that could work. Right. Everybody wants to sell their property and subdivide. There's You take a 10-acre parcel, subdivide it by 10, and you've got 10 more families. The population's just gone up 100% or 1,000.
But this plan is actually advocating even denser, high density stack and pack housing. Oh, okay.
Okay. The idea of high density, we already have higher density than we had 25 years ago in Santa Rosa. We have suburbs that were farms that were, 5-acre parcels, and now they're subdivision tracts. It's much higher density because people are coming here.
High density then. I'm just trying to. Because now it's going to be even more high density in a smaller footprint. And what they're saying.
Let me ask you, why is there more high density? What fuels that?
No, I'm.
more people in an area fuel a higher density.
No, but in this.
Any kind of immigration, birth rate, all of that. It's
okay. Let me.
I'm sorry.
What are the elements in the greenhouse emission that they're so concerned about in this plan?
Well, what the state law has required us to do is to put a plan together that addresses a reduction of greenhouse gases that are associated with what are called mobile sources, us driving around. So there's a California Air Resources Board has said that you all need to reach a target. And what the plan will articulate
What are the concerns? What are the particles that you're concerned about in the atmosphere?
Look, I'm just going to fail my chemistry class.
CO2. CO2. It's your breath, my friend. It's your breath.
That's correct. It is. It's CO2. And look this up when you go home on the internet. CO2 comprises 37 thousandths of our atmosphere. That's 0.0037. And so we're talking about reducing that 9%, 10% at a cost of $200 million. Not a good return on investment. They're trying to take our cars away. That's what this is about. I used to ride bicycles and walk. I haven't ridden a bicycle in 20 years. People don't ride bicycles. We've got bicycle paths all over Petaluma, and they're useless. There's nobody riding those bike paths. It's a total waste. And so to spend $200 million to reduce CO2, which by the way is a natural element in our atmosphere, ain't going to work. It's a waste.
So how can we make a good choice? So a lot of people probably don't know there's going to be a $250 million water bond bill. Part of that money is going to go to take out, we all pay for it by the way, part of it is going to go to take out Klamath River dams. So how can we make decisions like this that are going to cost us money when we don't know what's coming at us as far as new taxes, new bonds, new grants that we have to pay for? I don't think it's really fair. Can you answer the fairness to that, the social equity to that question, please?
Well, first of all, we deal with transportation, and as a result of recent passages of state law, we also deal with this question of how we get around to where we live. It begs the land use question, although we don't have land use authority. But we don't do water bonds and Klamath River stuff. I mean, they may enjoy a public meeting like this as well, but I don't know anything about it.
Stack and pack thing.
So
same thing. What is this going to cost, and what are we going to have to pay in the future? She has an excellent question.
I'll clarify. Obviously, I didn't ask my question well enough. If we don't know what bonds, what grants we're going to have to pay for environmental issues, like the water bond that's going to come in 2012, how do we know if this is something we want or we can afford? So unless we have the big picture, we're given snippets, and you're asking us to make choices, limited choices, mind you. That's part of the book nudge and Cass Sunstein and our regulatory czar. But we're asked to use
I don't have the answer.
I got no answer.
That's a great question. I don't have the answer.
That's a great question.
The only possible answer to that question that I can imagine is that we live in a state that has essentially become a direct voting state for revenue. That everything goes on the ballot. That no city council, no board, the legislature is an exception. They can put something on the ballot with it, or they can pass something with a 2/3 vote. But essentially in California, a revenue question is a 2/3 vote question. That's what it is. So no matter what we put in our plan, no matter what we do, it's going to need a 2/3 vote by somebody, and often by folks like you. So if you like that, look, that's great. Now most states aren't that way, but California is. So that's the answer.
Okay, we have another question here. Hi, my name is Orlean Perla, and my question, actually two questions involving sustainable communities. I have a son who lives in Portland, Oregon, and Portland has been an example of a sustainable community for a long, long time. It does not have a very good success rate. Its livability is not doing very well, and thousands of people are leaving because they don't like the stacked and packed housing, they don't like the mass transit, they don't like the fact that they can't drive their cars where they used to be able to drive, and they don't like the fact that their freedom is gone. And my other part is, why do we believe that we here, who are maybe 100 people, have the right to vote for 7 million people in our entire Bay Areas? And I don't believe that that is correct, and I think if this is put before our city councils or board of supervisors, they still should open it up. This should be on the ballot that all 7 million people can vote on.
Exactly. We'll certainly take that comment. So look, we're really running out of time here. There's a lot of folks who have had a chance to ask a lot of questions, and there may be some folks that haven't had a chance. And I want to get to those. I want to get to those who haven't had a chance. So, and I know just because I've been here for a while, some of the faces. So, anyway, let's try to get the folks who haven't had a chance.
Hi, I've never been to anything like this before, and
it shows. For him.
I'm just really confused about this whole process and everything. I don't understand how, like what she said, how can you prioritize if you don't know dollar amounts? And how are you going to force people to live, bring their businesses into these communities? We've got one down the block that is vacant. We have houses all over the state that are vacant that, you know, we have a mortgage all the time that happen. So we have vacant houses. How come people would want to live in one of those buildings rather than in their, you know, single family dwelling?
Existing house.
Yeah, existing house that's already here that's empty.
Through community manipulation.
So, and as far as you've never been here before, welcome. I made a joke that I have never either, but that's not true. I've had some interviews. So first of all, oh, thank you. So in any event, welcome. We're glad you're here. Look, doing a long-term plan that deals with land use and transportation and 7 million people is hard and it's complicated. And doing it for one evening like today gives you a sense of how complex it can be, because there's a lot of different views about what should happen. I think the goal that we have is to be able to express clearly and concisely so that people can understand that this is the world you live in, this is the state law we're trying to respond to, and these are the choices that people can make or not in order to have an outcome that's described in a plan. But the plan is just a plan. It gets updated every couple of years. Here, wait, hold on. And so what we're trying to do here in this auditorium is to get input from folks about what you think the commission ought to do, what you think the Association of Bay Area Governments representatives ought to do. That's the goal of this evening, is to hear from you. That's the objective. Anybody
Do we
else?
have any other questions on the
Yeah. Again, we're going
Number one, I think that the agency and those on the board of directors are driven by special interests, and there's no way that that agency can possibly help us with the quality of life issues when the free market system is better suited for such a process.
Just pass that one on.
Hold on a second.
In the west?
No,
Okay, I asked you earlier, how do you expect to have a discussion or anything kind when you refuse to define the terms that you're using, such as sustainability, social equity, that are in your presentations and that you massively refused earlier? The other gentleman and myself did agreement. You've also made the assumption, we don't make the assumption that, oh, greenhouse gases, that's a problem. And the only greenhouse gas that's ever mentioned is CO2. Water's not mentioned, which is hard to deal with, by the way. But CO2 is naturally occurring every time we breathe out. Plants need it to live on. And we have this false assumption that many scientists strongly disagree. And then you made assumptions of, and then in some of these presentations, there's been assumptions made about money being available. We don't have any money. And our economy may or may not come back. And it's hard telling whether the fact that we've stretched the amount of money we've taken from the taxpayers isn't what drove this down to a certain amount. You didn't answer. You still haven't answered what you're... You have not answered how we're supposed to have a discussion when you won't answer the definitions. Because it's not in there. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's not. I'm sorry.
Yes, this whole thing that we're putting together here is probably the most ambitious social engineering thing I've ever heard of. Is that right? Now, I can't think of any other social engineering that's ever gone on in this widespread, this large deal. So it's going to affect us so much. I mean, gosh, let's think about this. The whole thing we're talking about is all about one thing: carbon dioxide. Is that right? Yes or no? I mean, I don't mean to put it in the box, but is that right?
No, it's not what it's about.
Let them answer.
No, I want to get down to the bottom brass tacks. Is it about carbon dioxide, CO2?
No, that's a part of it. But the requirements of planning for transportation have been around for 30 or 40 years and have been completed by organizations like mine for at least that long. And in the past, it was kind of hard to get people interested in that subject. But now, when the legislature passed this idea of using plans to identify what it's going to take to deal with carbon, look, it's state law. It's there. I didn't make this up.
So that's been the kicker to get this whole thing going.
Well, it was for you. I mean, but a lot of people have been on us about extensions of MARC to different places and better buses and, I mean, better highways and better roads. I mean, fix the narrows for some people. I mean, fix 101. So the issue for many people here is a new one, but it's a one that the law has asked us to deal with, and so we are. So your participation in this is something we want.
Okay, so let me get this right. So we recognize that this carbon dioxide thing has been the impetus, the initiation factor that's going to make all these other things that our society at large wants to bring about. Okay, is that right? Okay. So my point is this: it all revolves around carbon dioxide. Then let's find out how can we, if this is really going to be the thing that's going to be a problem for our society, the ozone layer is going to be dissipated, then let's get rid of the biggest factors that reduce the cause of CO2. You know what they are? Is it those cars, those bad, mean, dirty, bad, nasty cars? You know what it is? Number one, volcanoes.
Oh, get rid of those.
Number two, cow farts.
No.
Cow farts, yes, that's it. It might, cow, is that right? I need to talk to you about that. Decomposition. What is the major factors that cause CO2 emissions?
You know, it's also
respiration. But the point is that we're talking about a big social change based on 8 to 9% of possibly of the contributing factors and reducing that by 15%. How much is that really going to affect our culture and our society? What's going to affect our culture and society is this program more than anything else.
It says in here that we can't really make a difference, that we're just being an example. I read it.
Things were different in the planning area now because there was this new law that we had to reduce emissions. What is different?
No, listen.
I mean, is it? I'm just asking that question. You're saying that we've always planned and nothing got done. Everybody wanted BART, that didn't happen. Blah blah blah. But now we're under these new regulations from the state government, so it's different. What is different about it?
Well, listen, folks' view, people's view about what we should do with our transportation dollars and the planning my organization has been doing for 40 years has long been controversial, long been. And folks have strong views about what we should do or not do, and we've heard them for really decades. I think for some people here, a new subject that we have to deal with is the issue of a mandate to get at not all CO2, but that related to transportation. And to put a plan together that just articulates what would have to do to meet that goal. That's for some people, but for some people that's a really big thing, and for some people that's why you're here. But for many people, the subject is much narrower. The subject is, I want to get around, and why don't I get a BART train to my community? Now look, that's a subject we've been dealing with for years, and we'll deal with it in this plan too. So to answer your question is it new? Yeah, it's new.
But no, I'm asking what are the implications of there being this mandate? Are there?
The commission will have to wrestle with that when they adopt a plan, and the input from you and thousands of other people will be certainly an element of their considerations. So listen, thank you all. I appreciate it.
You're going to think about it.